Welcome to the Retirement Made Easy podcast. I'm your host, Greg Gonzalez. My goal for the podcast is to help you live a better life in retirement by giving you the tools and information you need in a language that you can understand. This week's podcast will be no exception. I had a person named Lisa that went to my website, which is retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. And she asked a question at the bottom of my website where I invite all listeners to type in your questions, and I'd be happy to offer any advice I could. Lisa's question was very unique, and it's a question that I have heard probably over a dozen times over the years, and it's a fantastic question. And it's really a concern at the same time. So Lisa went on to say, what would you do or how would you go about being in the situation that I'm in where I feel like I'm behind or I'm off track in my journey towards retirement? What would you do? How would you kind of play catch up? And where would you go from here if you felt you were in that situation? So that's what I want to talk about on today's episode. I wanted to speak to those people, or maybe it's someone that you know that is behind saving for retirement and how they might be able to get back on track and what steps they might take to get them back on track. Because when you think about it, if you're on your journey towards retirement, you're either on track, you're behind, or you are ahead of schedule. And quite frankly, there's a lot of people that don't know where they stand. So they don't know if they're on track or not. And as a financial advisor in St. Louis, Missouri, for over a decade, I've had people that I meet with that are behind saving for retirement, and they're only a few years away from retirement. And so the worst meetings that I have with people are when I have to report back to them and say, hey, you know what? You're going to have to work a little longer than you have planned because you're not on track. You're behind. And at the rate you're going, if you had planned on retiring in 2 or 3 years, based on the numbers and the information you're giving me, I don't see how that's possible. So we need to do X, Y, and Z to increase the odds of probability of success. And when I think back on a lot of these folks that I have to report that bad news to, I wish they would have looked me up 5 or 10 years earlier because we could have filled in the gaps at that point. Believe me, as a financial advisor, the worst thing about my career is meeting with people that are 65 and excited to retire within a year or so. And I have to give them the bad news that, hey, I don't see how you're going to make this work for the next 30 years. And in my professional opinion, it might make sense to work a few more years. So instead of retiring at 66 or 67, maybe you push it out until 68, 69, or 70 and save more for retirement during those years. And maybe my recommendations might be for someone like that is to, hey, let's eliminate some of this debt before you retire, and then you won't have those mortgage payments or car loans or whatever it is. So if you have questions about your own retirement or investing, you can go to my website, which is retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. That's retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. There you can listen to previous episodes of the podcast. You can send me your questions at the bottom of the homepage. You can download our free resources, such as my retirement secret sauce, such as our budgeting tool that we always recommend pre-retirees fill out before they retire, so they have an idea where their money's going. All of those resources are free on the website, so please check those out. So jumping back to Lisa's question, what would I recommend to someone that's behind or off track saving for retirement on their journey? So maybe they haven't saved enough up until this point, and they're kind of behind the 8 ball, so to speak. And there's a lot of people out there that might feel like they're in this situation. I can't tell you how many people I've had say to me, we haven't saved enough for retirement up until this point. So we're not ready to retire. We can't afford yet to retire, and we feel like we're off track. What do we need to do to get back on track to be able to be in a position to retire someday? And for someone like that, I would want to put parameters around someday. We want to retire someday. Well, when do you want to retire? Is it age 70? Is it age 72? Is it age 75? Or maybe it's in your 60s. right? So we need to put parameters around it, and you need to put a goal of, hey, our retirement date is this. It's age 70 or age 67, whatever it might be. So that's the first step, I would say, Lisa, is determine what your goal is as far as retirement. And I know a lot of people say, oh, the sooner the better. Of course, I'd like to retire tomorrow, but let's be realistic here, right? So what is our goal? And you want to write that down. And Brian Tracy, he is a personal development, a motivational speaker. He's been around for decades and decades. He's a terrific guy. Look him up. He's got a ton of books. And he said that the act of actually putting pencil to paper and writing down your goal increases your odds of achieving that goal by 1,000%, just by writing it down pen to paper. So that would be my first step, Lisa, is I would say, hey, my goal is retire at age 72 or age 70 or whatever your goal was. Next, I would want to determine how much I'm going to need to have saved at that point in time to be able to retire. And so how do you come up with that? Right? And you may have seen these commercials from a lot of these brokerage firms where maybe there's a lady walking down the street. This was years ago when I saw this commercial, but basically she had a very obscure number that she was carrying. And then there was another gentleman that was walking down the same street and he was carrying some other obscure number in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And so that number was trying to represent the amount of money that each of those individuals needed to have saved for retirement. So you need to find out your number. There's a lot of different resources. There is on Dave Ramsey's website, it's called a retirement IQ. So RIQ, you can figure that out. And they have a nice tool that's free to use on his website. That will kind of give you a ballpark idea of what that number is in your situation. But a financial planner like myself, that's one of the first things we're going to help you with is determine how much you're going to need to have saved at that point in time to be able to afford to retire. And that is going to be dictated by the retirement lifestyle that you're going to want, right? So how much do you want to live on in retirement? Do you want to maintain the same lifestyle that you have before you retire? For most people, the answer is yes. For other people, they want to spend more in retirement because they're going to spend more maybe on their kids, their grandkids, traveling, their hobbies, that kind of stuff. So again, first step, determine and write down your goal. I want to retire at age blank. Number 2, you will need to figure out how much you're going to have saved for retirement at that age to be able to retire on time. And of course, a financial advisor like myself who specializes in retirement planning can help you figure out how much that number is, how much you're going to need to have saved at that point in time. That's kind of the goal that you're shooting for. And then, of course, you're going to need to put together a plan saying, okay, I am here. So imagine you're at a mall and you see those signs, the map of the mall, and it says you are here and you want to go to Macy's or Dillard's or whatever store it is. You kind of figure out, okay, the route you're going to need to take. Do you need to go up the stairs? Is there an escalator or an elevator you can take? Or would it be quicker to go and move your car and drive around the other side of the mall? That's what you need to figure out is the route you need to take or the steps you need to take to get you to your goal of retiring at age 72. Because if you just stop and think about it, what got you here won't get you there. So if what got you here makes you feel like, okay, I'm behind saving for retirement, well, if you keep at the same rate or the same pace, how are you ever going to get to your goal? So that's what you'll need to determine is, okay, I am here. I want to go there. I want to retire at age 72. How much am I going to need to save between now and then to get me to where I need to be? Remember, think about retirement as an income problem. It's an income equation. So you want to have enough money to live on in retirement. And where is that income going to come from? For most people, it's Social Security income, it's pension income, and it's retirement savings income, such as 401ks, Roth IRAs, that kind of stuff. So drawing an income out of your investment, your retirement savings, needs to supplement your Social Security and pension income. And I have had clients say to me over the years that they finally felt that when they retired, that they had enough saved where they could just live on the earnings, the dividends, the interest, that kind of stuff. And that alone was enough to pay for the lifestyle that they wanted in retirement. And of course, it's a lot easier if you're retired and you're debt-free because you can live on less money if you don't have a car loan and a mortgage and a boat loan and all these other things. And if you think about it like that, your Social Security and pension that you might have, those are the income resources that you know are going to be available for retirement. And if those total to be $3,000 a month and you need $5,000 a month to live on in retirement comfortably, then you need an extra $2,000 a month from your retirement savings to kind of fill that gap. And so you need to determine, okay, what amount of assets do I need in my retirement savings? What is that number that is going to provide an income every month of $2,000? And I've had a lot of people that ask me, how much does a normal person need to have saved in their 401ks or retirement savings accounts before they can afford to retire? Is it 1 million? Is it 2 million? Is it 500,000? What is that number that someone needs? And the answer to that is, it depends. It depends what lifestyle you want to have in retirement and what your situation is going to look like. Will your house be paid off in retirement? Okay, if yes, then good. Now you can live on less money every month in retirement. If not, okay, well, you're going to live on more money in retirement because you're going to have that extra house payment, right? So for the person that, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, if someone wants to live on $10,000 a month in retirement, they're going to need more saved for retirement, assuming their Social Security and pension is the same as someone who wants to live on only $4,000 a month in retirement. It just depends on what your goals are and how much you plan on spending every month in retirement. But the problem with saving for retirement over the years and decades is a lot of people don't know where they need to be and if they're ever on track. They kind of just save in the 401k, maybe save enough to get the match. I know Dave Ramsey, for example, he recommends saving 15% of your earnings into a 401k or a Roth 401k or Roth IRA, kind of as a rule of thumb, is he recommends that people save 15% of what they make for retirement. And that's assuming all your debt's paid off, other than your mortgage, of course, and that you have a nice, healthy emergency fund. So when someone tells me that they're behind saving for retirement or they feel like they're behind and they're never going to be able to afford to retire, I always ask them, how much are you currently saving for retirement and how much have you been saving for retirement in the past? Have you made saving for retirement a priority in your life up until this point? So if you're one of those people that feels like you're behind saving for retirement, I would encourage you to figure out, either meet with a certified financial planner, meet with somebody who's going to help determine how do you get back on track, how do you fill in the gaps to make sure you understand how much you're going to need to have saved by the time you want to retire, and what you need to do between now and then to make sure that you get there with enough money saved. It might mean increasing what you're putting in your 401k every paycheck. It might mean eliminating debt in the meantime and then increasing your 401k contributions, maybe setting up a Roth IRA between now and retirement. These are the different steps that you might take to get you back on track. Lord knows, it might be that you need to change the investments inside of your retirement accounts. You know, for example, a couple months back, I met with someone that had all of their 401k money in the money market that was earning 0.2%. And it's not that they thought that was a good idea. It's that they just never had time to go back in and change the investments to diversify them and get repositioned into maybe more suitable mutual funds that allowed for more growth than a money market earning 0.2%. So if you feel like you're behind, you got to do something about it. You can't continue at the same rate. Chances are you might never be able to retire, or you might end up retiring at age 85. And that doesn't sound like a lot of fun to me. A lot of people have competing goals in mind. For example, do we get the house paid off the sooner the better? Or do we allocate more money towards retirement? Do we help our kids or grandkids with college or their first home? Or do we open up a Roth IRA? So you've got to take a step back and say, what are my priorities here? And let's say your priority is retiring at age 65. Then you need to first determine, okay, am I on track or am I behind? And if I'm behind, what do I need to do between now and age 65 to make sure there's a high probability that I get to retire when I'm 65? I had a gentleman who lives over in Illinois that's a client, and he said, Greg, I want to retire at 65. I'll do whatever it takes to get there. You tell me what I need to do. Do I need to save 20% into my 401k? Do I need to pay off debt? You tell me. I'll do whatever it takes. I just want to get there to retirement safely. And when I'm 65, I want to make sure that I can pull the trigger. You kind of want your financial advisor to be like your airline pilot. What do you do when you fly? There's only 3 things you really care about. You want to take off on time, you want to land on time, and you want to get there safely. That's all you care about. And that's what an airline pilot will do. Same thing with a financial advisor. When you're planning for retirement, you want to make sure you can retire on time and have a gentle landing into retirement. And really, most of all, you want someone that genuinely cares and wants to see you be able to retire on time safely. I hope that helps answer Lisa's question for all the people that feel that like they're behind saving for retirement and don't know what to do. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Retirement Made Easy podcast. Again, visit our website, retirementmadeeasypodcast.com. You can listen to previous episodes and send me all your questions, love mail, and hate mail. I'm Greg Gonzalez, and remember, always dream big. The opinions voiced in this material are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, please consult your attorney, tax advisor, or financial advisor prior to investing. This is a hypothetical example and is not representative of any specific investment. Your results may vary. All performance referenced is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices mentioned are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. The SmartVestor program is a directory of investment professionals. Neither Dave Ramsey nor SmartVestor are affiliates of St. Louis Retirement Advisors or LPL Financial. There is no guarantee that a diversified portfolio will enhance overall returns or outperform a non-diversified portfolio. Diversification does not protect against market risk. All investing involves risk, including loss of principal. No strategy assures success or protects against loss. Securities and advisory services offered through LPL Financial, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA, SIPC.